Welcome to the ARCA Post Race Show. I'm Casey Campbell, Great Lakes Post, and we are pleased to be joined by Garth Allen of Racing News Now, and you can find him at youtube.com/Racing News Now. Don't forget to subscribe. So that was interesting. You know, what most of the ARCA races have been this year, Ty has won, 10-time winner in the ARCA Menard Series, and he cannot break Tim Steele's record of 12 wins. He can tie it. He's got to win the next two races at two tracks that he flat out dominated. One at Salem in 2019, and then Kansas earlier this year when he led all the laps. But it was an interesting race besides Ty winning, and it was JGR. Sammy Smith wins the 2021 ARCA Menard Series East title. Good for him, and be interesting to see what happens with his career going forward. But overall, it was a very interesting night.
Yeah, interesting, I think, is a good word for it. There was a lot of stuff happening in this race. Not necessarily in terms of battles for the lead. Ty had him covered most of the night, and even late in the race when lap traffic held him up and Sammy got to his bumper, as soon as he got around that lap traffic, he put the foot to the floor and he was gone again. And it had seemed like Sammy and maybe Taylor Gray were kind of even with him, but I think it became very apparent when Ty did that with like 7 or 8 laps to go. He'd been saving a lot, and I don't think anybody really had anything for him. I don't think we knew how fast he truly was tonight. But yes, outside of that, this race was something. I do like the fact that we had 30 cars in this race, but it did make for quite the wild night because there was a lot of slow cars in this race, and they tended to cause a lot of issues that probably shouldn't have happened tonight.
Yeah. So, I know ARCA wants as many as, if they want to come out and race, ARCA has the platform for that. But this is also kind of when you have a tough, tight track like Bristol, you go 2-3 wide, and there's really nothing you can do. So they're prone to have that happen. But then we see the results of that happening. What do you think the series can do, or if they can do anything?
I don't know if the series itself can do anything. It's a matter of the drivers policing themselves better. I don't want it to sound like I'm saying that lapped cars shouldn't race.
No.
Because if you're faster than the car in front of you, whether you're on the lead lap or whether you're 3 laps down, you have the right to race that person and try to pass them. The issue comes when you've got 2, 3, 6 lap cars in a group, all 2 to 3 wide, not yielding to the leaders who are like 10, 15 mile an hour faster than you, that you're never going to hold them off and stay on the lead lap or whatever lap you're on. I understand when, say, we're at the cup level and you've got somebody in 20th trying to hold on to the lead lap. They're close enough in speed to that leader that they can do that, and it's not an issue. But when you're somebody getting lapped in ARCA and you're 10, 15 miles an hour slower than the leader, you are never going to hold them off. You have to yield to them. You can't race them to stay on the lead lap or whatever lap you're on. You have to yield to them. You have to know that the leader's coming and not stay 2 to 3 wide with whoever you're racing with. And then you can get back to doing your racing once the leaders are by. And we didn't have that tonight. And it tended to cause a lot of issues. Ty Gibbs almost got caught up in a wreck twice because of lap cars that were racing right in front of him and not yielding and end up wrecking each other.
Speaking of Ty, Ty, of course, had to, go get through some incidents as well. Not a good night for the defending winner of this race, Sam Mayer. Got into some trouble early on. I mean, he had to go to a backup car early on in the race, and not the best night for him. But he'll try to get the advantage in the truck race.
Well, and his issue was the same thing. He had a flat tire in practice, which caused him to go to a backup car, started from the rear, and So he was already in the back trying to make up those spots. He was about to go a lap down at was it the first caution?
Yeah.
And there's a car. I think they were still in the lead lap, but they were in front of him. They spin right in front of him, and he's got the leader Ty Gibbs right behind him. Sam has nowhere to go and runs into, was it Jason Kitzmiller? Yes. I think it was the 97. Yeah. Runs into the back of him. And again, it's the same issue of you're all racing. There's like 6-7 cars that are not fast enough to be racing right in front of the leader. They're getting anxious because they're right in front of the leader, and then they end up wrecking themselves.
Yeah. Speaking of wrecking, we had a continuation of something. Apparently the 15 and 46 continued. This is the first time we've seen Drew and Thad in the same race since, I think since Michigan. So
yeah.
That and you all know what's been going on with that. If you've watched this channel, if you watched the ARCA preview show, you know what happened there. I was there in person for it. So it continued. What happened?
Drew Dollar got his payback. Plain and simple. There's no way around it. There's no way to argue and say that wasn't intentional. If you look, just before he made contact, that car jerked to the right. That wasn't him just sliding up off the corner and being tight. That wasn't him misjudging the space that he had and thinking it was clear. That was him jerking the wheel to the right and turning Thad Moffitt. That was a continuation of Michigan, is exactly what that was. And whether it continues after tonight, I don't know. Drew has one more race left? He'll be at Kansas, right?
Will be.
So that might continue at Kansas. I don't know. The way things are going, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yep. Who knows? This is a very interesting ordeal because you never know. Racers don't forget. Actually, they never forget.
Yeah.
Never forget.
Jimmy Spencer never forgets.
I mean, I think he still has like 3 or 4 guys to pay back.
I think so.
So good night for some people. Daniel Dye had a really good night. The Rev Racing cars really impressed. Raja Karuth had an interesting night as well, and apparently had a good save and probably qualifies for the Reese's Sweet Move of the race, probably.
Well, and I think that was one of the options that they had for the Reese's Sweet Move of the race was Corey cutting him off and Raj almost going around. I was impressed by that. I thought Raj was done at that point, and somehow he saved it. So, yeah, that was impressive.
Yeah, good night for the Rev cars. Nick Sanchez, Raja Karuth, of course, they'll both run for the full season next year and then finish out the season this year. So good stuff there. Also, we crowned a champion tonight. Sammy Smith, just 17 years old, and he is the ARCA Menard Series East champion. Of course, you've seen him a bunch of times this year, and you got to talk to him several times on your channel, and very, very deserving. And we're going to hear a lot from him in the next few years for sure, I bet.
Oh, yeah. Sammy's a good dude and an even better driver. He definitely deserves this championship. He was 100% start to finish this year in the East Series. He was the best driver in the East Series this year, so definitely deserves it. I would have liked to have seen what Daniel Dye could have done if he'd been in the 21 all year. I think he would have given Sammy a real run for his money. But the fact of the matter is Daniel wasn't in the 21 all year. So start to finish of the year, Sammy definitely was the best driver and definitely deserves it.
Yeah, for sure. And then, of course, the championship in ARCA kind of lengthened its lead. I think Ty has pulled away, and many people have said before the season even started, you could just hand the championship to Ty. I think you can hand it to him now, because another not good night for Corey Heim.
Yeah, see, Venturini Motorsports has been very up and down this year.
Yeah,
they were a little off to start the year outside of Daytona and Talladega. Then it seemed like they picked things up in the summer, and now it seems like they've fallen off a cliff again. And this is what, 3 bad races for Corey in a row, because Milwaukee wasn't good for him. DuQuoin was going to be decent until DuQuoin happened. That's a whole nother issue in itself.
Yeah.
But I mean, the fact of the matter is Corey was already dropping after Milwaukee. So you can't fully blame it on DuQuoin, but DuQuoin definitely didn't help his chances. And now tonight, another not so great run. It's going to take a miracle for him to get back into it at this point. It's going to take some bad luck on Ty's part, probably both at Salem and Kansas.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely an uphill battle to climb for that 20 team, but we'll just have to see how that goes. We got a while before the next race. At Salem, you plan to be at the last 2 races of the season.
Yep.
What are we going to expect when we get to Salem?
At Salem, I expect the Ty Gibbs win, if we're being honest. He dominated this race 2 years ago. Yeah, because they didn't go to Salem last year. Dominated it 2 years ago. I don't see any reason to say he's not going to dominate it, because overall this season he has been better on the short tracks than Corey has, especially before Corey started into the slump that he's in now. I wouldn't be surprised to see Daniel Dye up there going for the win. I wouldn't be surprised to see Raja Caruth or Nick Sanchez up there with the way they ran tonight. Raj was very up and down, though. I mean, one of the fastest cars in the first stint. Then I don't know what they did on that first break, but he dropped like a rock and then came back in the last part of the race. So, but overall was very impressive tonight. And I think if he can have a car similar to that in Salem, I think might be able to compete for the win. So it may not be a Ty Gibbs runaway, but I do still expect him to win it fairly handily at Salem.
Yeah, and of course he won at Kansas earlier this year. Place also Corey won at earlier this year as well. So
right, so Kansas isn't somewhere you can necessarily write off and say Ty will win that race, because Corey has shown he can win at that track too. But especially with the way momentum is going, you could probably pencil that one in as Ty as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how these last 2 races play out, but we'll have to see how it goes. All right, Garth, thank you so much. I know Sammy Smith interview is going to be coming up later this week. I know the Rewind show is coming up later tonight or tomorrow, depending on circumstances.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
Yeah, and of course, lot of fun stuff coming from that. And plus, we got an ARCA West race at the Bull Ring next week, and that championship's kind of starting to get away. Jesse Love's kind of pulling away from the field as well in that. So, yeah. So we'll have to see there. All right. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you later.